Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Darkhorse Dental Success Pod. I'm your host, Ruben Camp. This is episode 6, and this week I have our distinguished guest, Dr. Christy Frady. Christy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ruben. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on. And we're kind of getting in. We were just talking before we started recording here about COVID and the school year and how that's affecting your life right now. My first question was really about how you spent your time, both like personally and professionally during COVID. So that seems like a really good place to start.
Sure. So how I spent my time personally, I bought my practice when my first daughter was literally 2 months old. And so I have had very little, I didn't take much time off. This was the most, my girls are now 10 and 8. This was the most time that I was able to spend with them. And it was interesting though, because I was also their school teacher, which was a little added some extra dynamics. I'm sure most of the other docs who have kids can commiserate or, it was just an interesting time. So I got to spend a lot of family time, do things that we normally wouldn't be able to do without the hustle and bustle of running to activities, just really kind of get down to core family time. And that was a lot of fun, getting to know my kids a little better. Professionally, I spent a lot of time on the infrastructure of the practice. I'm a pediatric dentist, and we have experienced exponential growth that was getting hard to manage. And so kind of putting the brakes on things and creating some written systems, written protocols. I'm not done with it yet because it kind of has taken a mind of its own, and one thing turns into another, but it's a really good start and helpful to pass on to the staff. And with the exponential growth comes extra staff members, and we were super unorganized with staff onboarding, and so this was a good opportunity to really work with that.
Now, did you read the letter to Garcia to your children?
So the terms letter of Garcia are mentioned very often in my house and my family. They don't know exactly what it means, but they understand the concept.
Yeah.
And I think even at work, the staff, perhaps there's some eye rolling going on once I turn around, but I think it's a really good concept.
Yeah. And for those of you listening who have no idea what we're talking about, you should look it up. It's either called a letter or a message to Garcia. It is about this process of trying to find people who you can give a task to and they can run with it and accomplish it. And it's not this like they come back and clarify it like. And we call those people in the IT industry unicorns. So if you ever get like a survey from us and you see the like unicorn, we'll say like response time, but unicorns on there, that's kind of our like little hidden secret about the people that could deliver a message to Garcia.
Yeah, and it was something that somebody else suggested to kind of look at and read, and I'm super grateful that it fell into my lap because it was a tool that really has been useful.
Yeah. And it really helps you value those people in your organization. And you experienced exponential growth. I did too. We were both working during COVID to try to create systems. We're obviously both highly efficient, successful people, but we even failed at trying to keep each other honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
No, it was
that call.
It
I
was
don't know
so
if I can make
challenging.
that call today.
I think I was definitely the worst at it, for sure. But it's just having such an open opportunity of time is really, I've never had that before, and who knows if we'll ever get it again. But it was something to really take advantage of, and I think I got a little out of control with it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But it's hard because I know our company is better from having that time and going through COVID and reinvesting. Like I took business classes, our team trained, our culture is stronger than it's ever been. And it's like that compared with the negative part of COVID, it's like I'm scared to say anything.
Yeah.
But we took advantage of the time that we have
Right.
for better or worse.
Right. No, I think if I had to do it all over again, obviously hindsight is 2020, but I would worry less on the day to day. I also inundated myself with a lot of like, webinars about protocols, and things changed so much on such a short period of time that I feel like I wasted a lot of time that I could have been more efficient. But hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. Of course, I would expect you to be hard on yourself, knowing you. So, you own 3 practices. I think that's worth saying.
Yep.
And I started working with you when you just had the one, and it seems like every time I talk to you, you promised me that this was your last project. So now I just don't believe you anymore. I'm just waiting for the floor
No, this
plan
is the
to
last
show.
project. No. I'm super lucky that I had some great opportunities. My hand was forced to some extent because the building that we were in initially, I don't own any of the buildings that we're in. And that was a choice that I made. And I'm sure anybody can, of course you can argue whether it was the smart business decision or not, but for me personally, that was the right choice. And they tore the building that my main practice was in. They tore it down, so we had to move. So we basically did 3 build outs within 2 years, less than 2 years. And it was interesting. I learned a lot. We're good for a while.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. And as you mentioned with young children, that just adds a layer of complication. So kind of on that subject, you've done 3 build outs, you've had 3 different cracks at doing a similar project. What was your biggest bottleneck or failure point looking back? And then what did you learn from it?
So I'm still trying to kind of make some corrections. We experienced such amazing growth. And we went from 1 practice to 3. We went from, I would say, 1 doctor to 4 within 3 years. And the biggest concern was that we were still able to create a good experience for kids, that nobody ever felt rushed through, that, they didn't get kind of a corporate feel was our goal. And we were successful in that. But one thing I lost track of along the way was I was so focused on the patient experience and the fiscal health of all of this that I kind of lost track of the culture and in checking in with the staff and communicating. And that's one area that I need to improve on, and I'm working on, is communication. With all the staff, because
it's hard though.
It is hard.
You only have so much time, and I feel like I had similar, I had the growth piece, you had to pay attention to the financial piece, you had the culture piece. And I think the thing that I let go was the financial piece, where I was not paying enough attention. We were working way too hard for the amount of money we were making, but our culture was great. It was a great place to come to work every day and stuff like that. So I'm trying to.
But that definitely brings a lot of value too, although you can't, it's hard to quantify that. That's definitely important.
Yeah, but it's also taxing when you look at your P&L statement. You're like, wow, what did I just put myself mentally through in the last year? And this is this worth it?
Of course.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is that it's also very challenging when staff are kind of don't know what's going on, or don't, and so there's definitely room for improvement from that perspective. And so I'm carving the time out. Time is definitely the most limited commodity.
So what kind of
right now
culture vibe, what are you going for at Paramount?
I just want people to love what they do. We're in such a unique position of giving kids their first dental experiences, or trying to transition them from negative experiences. Trying to get staff to realize that we are really impacting these kids in their lives. So many parents will say things like, it's crazy, I don't even understand it, my kids look forward to going to the dentist. I don't think that's crazy. I think that if we've done our job, then that's a part of the deal. In a sense of camaraderie, that staff are coming in and, we're a part of a team and we're a part of the greater community. And so that's sort of the goal, which is hard when the, the building blocks for these different practices, the concrete is just setting. And so then trying to, provide the patient experience and, take care of the staff is, that's an arduous task.
Yeah. Well, I know you'll never give yourself credit for it, but it is almost impossible to, with the things we just discussed, to be A+ at all of those at the size we're at. Like, unless you just had, if you had 3 Christies or I had 3 Rubens, everyone might quit, but we would be great. It would just be too much pushing. So
That's right.
getting to where you got, I mean, obviously you didn't do it alone. There was a lot of willpower to get there, but like I think about all the people that I stood on their shoulders to build the company, that I run now. What resources have you relied on along the way? Books, podcasts, dental groups that have made the most impact?
So when I first bought the practice, which was in the single practice like 10 years ago, it was an existing practice, and then the other 2 were startups. Dentaltown was really big at the time, and it's still pretty big. And I relied a lot on that. And I came into from the approach of, I want to learn by everybody's mistakes, and I've learned a lot from my own mistakes in trying to help others not have to go through that. Facebook wasn't that big at that point in time, and I had a couple of really good local mentors. And so those were good resources. It's obviously evolved significantly now. Actually, I think it might be a hindrance because there's so many different platforms for people to get information, and it's really, you got to make sure that you're vetting your sources now, because everybody's an expert in something. And I don't mean that in a negative fashion. Everybody's got really good experiences, but you need to find the ones that are beneficial. And so I'm a member of the Dental Success Network, and that has brought a lot of value in my life.
Yeah, I think some of the smartest doctors I've ever met have come from that. They're smart, but they also they pay attention to business in a way that I don't hear from other groups. And I don't know if it's something in that group that people are held accountable. But it's I think about Dr. Bill Keith. I think about Joseph Lee down in Jacksonville. Just off the top of my head, Kwansu Lee over in Seattle. Like, you're talking about they know their numbers. They know what's going on. And I think I kind of had a similar experience. I think I caught Dentaltown at the tail end, because I have worked for Howard personally for almost 6 years now at his office in Phoenix. And it seemed like Dentaltown was the thing, but in like an instant, these Facebook groups started popping up. And then, as you mentioned, there was okay, so you have the making of a dental startup, and then they got pissed off at a vendor, and now there's a doctors only making of a dental startup. And then there's clinical dentistry, and then there's a clinical just for pediatric, and then there's a clinical just for pediatric in the state of Wisconsin. It's it's getting so siloed.
And you have to be careful, because you can really experience overload. You can just and then you become paralyzed by too much information. And so, I would say trust your gut, find good sources, people that their purpose and what they, how they do things resonates with you, and focus on that. Honestly, Facebook, I think, has a lot of great upsides, but it's just, I don't know. I find myself, it's like it's a rabbit hole. You just go down and you can't stop. And, are these good resources? Aren't these? It's hard to tell. Critical thinking is super important.
It is. And from a vendor's point of view, where do I even spend my time? And then I've just opened myself up as a business owner to maybe 3 more channels where people could potentially direct message me. It's it's hard. I think there's 7 different ways people can get a hold of me, and just keeping track of each of those buckets, it's it's maddening.
But I think that if you do the right thing and you treat your customers and your clients well, I mean, that was one thing that so when I when I first started practice, I was in an associateship that didn't go well, but it wasn't because of the people, it was because of the infrastructure of it. And the gentleman that I was working with, he always said, Christy, don't worry about the dollars, worry about what you do and make a difference and always do the right thing and the rest will come. And I really think that that's true. At least that's been my experience. And I would imagine that for you, dentists are always asking others, who do you think about this or that, that if you do the right thing and you take care of people, it'll all come.
I agree. And I think that's definitely how I run my business. It's also short-term sacrifice for a longer-term game. So,
Yeah.
if I'm willing to do a little more in the beginning, lose money, then I'm betting that, the way we take care of people, they're not going to leave us. And that has overwhelmingly been confirmed true over and over again. So, I'm more comfortable with losing money in the beginning just to give that patient or that doctor a high end experience. And
and I think it would be fair to say, in my experience in working with Darkhorse, that it's been absolutely that. I was very candid with you in the beginning and said IT is not my jam. I want to be able to sit down at a computer and do my stuff and do what I do. And especially with these build outs and everything there, truly you guys held my hand, and it was easy. It was easy. So kudos to you on that, honestly, because like I said, IT, I mean, I've learned now to turn it off and turn it back on first before I call you guys. But that's about where it
also
ends.
Appreciate that. So you are a very busy person. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do have one last question for you.
Sure.
Where is my case of Red Bull? No, the actual question is, any final words of wisdom for somebody listening that is thinking about opening a practice? We can focus on a pediatric dentist looking to open up.
Yeah. I mean, I would say enjoy the whole process. Don't focus on the stressors. Try to be grateful for each stage you're going through, because it's all, it all depends on how you look at it. We have the opportunity to do so many different things. We can be, clinicians, and we can be, businessmen and women. We can work part-time and raise families. We can do it all, but enjoy what you do. And if you don't like the part of it that you're doing it, then outsource it. There's so many that's one thing that's newer now than when I first bought my first practice, is that you can outsource a lot of things to some really good systems. It might be a little more expensive, but you do pay for what you get.
Yeah. And there's a lot of vendors out there. So, I mean, I think about our backup systems. I've probably been open for 8 years. We've had 5 different vendors, right? We've been stable recently, but I wasn't afraid to switch to get to the next one. Is the grass always greener? Well, let's find out. And when you're small, you can do that. You can pivot, right? When you're Benco or Shine, it's like, good luck churning that cruise ship. But
and enjoy the process, and growing slow. Everybody feels like, I need to get as many people in the chair right away. You can do a lot of things really well when you grow at a reasonable pace. You don't have to slam it all right in the beginning, because you lose sight of some things when you do that.
That's awesome. Very wise words from a wise woman.
That learned everything by doing it wrong the first time.
Don't we all? I mean, they said don't hire your friends. Oops. They said don't hire your wife. Oops. I don't know. It's worked out for me mostly. I should say that the friend piece has been awesome. I mean, I don't know what everyone else's experience is, but when you have someone you absolutely trust as your number 2 at the company, I don't know what it's like not to have it, but I don't want to find out.
No, I have that same experience in my office. One of my best friends works here, and it's honestly been a non-issue. And I'm grateful for that sense. It brings a sense of camaraderie. Sometimes it's tough being the boss. You have to make some choices, but knowing that there are people that know you personally and are supportive of that can have its advantages.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Christy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ruben. Thanks for all you do.
Well, Like, thanks for being you. This was you were the one of the first people I wanted to have on here because I know you would not sugarcoat it. You tell people not what they wanted, but what they needed to hear, and
Yeah.
that's what I
And
appreciate
it's
about you.
hard. It is
Yeah.
hard, but
Mhm.
with hard things come great, great rewards and
Mhm.
results, and that's it.
We just have to enjoy it more.
You have to enjoy it more. No,
That's my
I will
next
say that,
mission is smelling
yeah,
the roses a little bit.
yeah. And so if
Yeah.
you have the template for that, I would appreciate if you pass that on to me.
I'll let you know when I figure it out. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Take care. Have
Bye,
a good rest
Chrissy.
of your day, Ruben.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye now.